Now, none of us want to deny kids the future that they would want for themselves, right? So none of us argue about people's sexualities, and none of us really argue about people's genders for obvious reasons, right? People are what they are. Now, for those who are born into the wrong body, there are processes for how you can change your physicality to match what your essence, personality, soul would be. The question for many of us, and it's not heresy to say so, is how young should people be before that process can take over? Because, of course, it could be a somewhat permanent change to a growing body. And we learned today via a report that there are clinicians who feel that there is too much pressure on them to end up using this sort of medication. Claire Chandler is a Liberal Senator from Tasmania. She joins us now because gender clinicians, according to the report that we read today, feel like that there is a conveyor belt at the moment when it comes to the medicalisation of those transitions that we have talked about here. What obvious concerns do you have here, Senator?
Well, I have the same concerns here, Paul, that I have heard from parents, from doctors, from medical professionals, from detransitioners all over Australia and all over the world about how children are being treated for gender dysphoria when they go to Australian gender clinics. These children, like you say, are receiving life-altering treatments, whether that's puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones to affirm their gender identity, without necessarily having an adequate understanding of what alternative treatments might be available to them. And I think this is an incredibly important study that we're seeing come out from Australian medical professionals at the moment who are at the coalface, who are at these gender clinics, and they reference a number of the issues that they keep seeing occurring with these children, that they're coming to these clinics with very preconceived ideas about what sort of treatment they want to seek out, and there are a number of influences that they name up regarding that, whether it's what conversations these kids might have had with other children on the playground or what they might be reading on the internet. They are coming to these clinics with preconceived ideas about what treatment they want. So I think this is an incredibly important piece of research from clinicians.
Now, one of the things that, again, normal people trying to keep pace with wherever allegedly the progressive normality is meant to be at any one time, the thing that people find, I think, hard to work out is, for obvious reasons, society said you're not an adult till you're 18, which means you can't vote, which means you can't drink alcohol, you can't drive a car until you're 17 in some states, a little higher, a little lower, depending on where else you are. There are people, conversely, saying that we need to lift the age of criminal responsibility from 10 to 14, but exactly the same forces would turn around and tell us that somebody who is in single digits, someone who's 9 or 8, even younger, is in a position to make the decisions we are talking about here. That, at its heart, is what people don't understand. People understand what transgenderism is. People understand what gender dysmorphia is. People understand how difficult that would be for anyone going through it. But how has it become an evil thing to try to match up those clear contradictions and contradictory positions that we have regarding the concept of children, teenagers, adulthood, responsibility?
Look, I think that those are all very genuine questions, Paul. And like you say, we need to know more about what is actually occurring at these gender clinics and more about the data that sits behind them, the clinical pathways, what the long-term impacts are on these children when they are receiving these treatments. And I have certainly requested from state health departments that they make that data available so that it can be publicly examined and criticised if necessary. Unfortunately, those state health departments have refused my request to release that data at this point. But like you say, this is an incredibly important issue to so many Australians, and I think Australians deserve to know what's happening at these clinics. There needs to be some more transparency here, and the health bureaucrats need to be transparent and provide the data so we know what's going on.